Jeremy, what are you doing?
I'm telling the story of the Moscow Mule.
That's actually not the right.
What do you mean?
Are you a spy?
What do
Are
you-
you a spy?
Ah!
Get him out! Out! Out, I say! Border Patrol. How do we get these Russians out of here? I'm just kidding. We're all inclusive here at Spirit Guides. My friend here was just a little bit misinformed. You see, the Moscow Mule did not begin in Russia. It began right here in Los Angeles. That's right. It was 1941 at the Cock and Bull British pub. And there was a guy named Jack Morgan who ran the spot there. And Jack Morgan, he had a lot of ginger beer on his hands. And he said, "What am I going to do with all this ginger beer?" Well, he was very good friends with another fella who had just acquired the rights for Smirnoff vodka, which at the time in the 1940s was a very, very weird ingredient. Americans did not really know how to drink vodka. It was just this weird Russian thing, like my friend here. So, that being said, his girlfriend also had inherited a copper mine from her family, and they had a lot of copper mugs hanging around. And so one night, the three of them put this together. At least that's how the legend has it. And the Moscow Buck was formed. Now I say the Moscow Buck because the Moscow Mule is just a variation on a buck, which is a cocktail comprised of a base spirit, ginger beer, and fresh squeezed lime juice. This is a term so old we don't really know where the heck it comes from anymore. At least not in the research that I was able to do. But Moscow Buck didn't really have a ring to it. They named it the Moscow Mule after the Russian vodka that was in it and a reference to another animal that sort of resembled a buck. The alliteration was a marketing hit, and the Moscow Mule, it was here to stay. And there have been many, many variations since. So tonight we are going to talk about bucks, mules, all sorts of herd-like animals. And we're going to get you guys making some great cocktails. What do you say? I can't hear you! All right, well, we want to thank you for tuning in. And for those of you who purchased a kit from our website, we want to thank you for that. We've been having a great time putting these things together, and we think tonight's is going to be really, really fun. So if you have a kit, you already have everything that you need to do this, pretty much. If you don't have one this week, you can get one next week down here. We're going to fix this URL one day. It's going to be zingier. It's got to have pizzazz. That's what we learned, right? So let's go over the tools that you're going to need to build these drinks. Now today is really, really, really simple. All you're going to need is a set of shaking tins or something to shake with, a jigger or something to measure with, a citrus press, or you can just use your hands because we are going to be doing the juice fresh. Need a cutting board and a knife to do that. And then you're also going to need a bar spoon to stir these things together. If you don't have a bar spoon, no worries. You can just use a knife. It's not a big deal. We're not doing any straining today, which is very exciting. Both these drinks, really, really easy to make, and you don't need to strain them whatsoever. And what are we going to be building? Well, if you need to follow along at home, let's take a look at these ingredients. You're going to need vodka or a spirit of your choice. You don't have to do a Moscow Mule. You can do whatever you want. Ginger beer, or if you've got the box, you've got our very, very special ginger syrup. I'll talk about that in a second. There's 2 to 4 limes that you're going to probably want. And for the second cocktail, it's comprised of bitters, Rose's lime cordial, cognac, and gin. If you don't have cognac or gin, don't even worry about it. You can just kind of make a little variation on a mule, however you feel like it. Also, fresh mint and an orange are going to be garnishing the second drink. So what is so fantastic about a mule is that you can really make a mule out of absolutely anything that you got. So we say vodka or spirit of your choice because you can kind of pick whatever you want. So now a note on the ginger beer front. It's been said, and I have read, that you have to use ginger beer, not ginger ale, and not ginger syrup to make a Moscow Mule. Ginger beer is actually fermented, and so even though it's like a very low, untraceable ABV and sometimes no ABV whatsoever, people say you have to use ginger beer to make this cocktail. We say our ginger syrup is that good. We put it to you for a taste test. So if you have a kit, go ahead and make some ginger beer yourself. You can use 1 ounce of that syrup and 3 to 4 ounces of club soda, and that will kind of make what we think is an exceptional ginger beer substitute if you don't have ginger beer, and it gets a little expensive. The reason why we think our syrup is that great is because we actually fresh squeeze ginger root. So our ginger syrup is spicy, it's got a bite, it's not just simple syrup with ginger added to it. So now you've got ginger beer, you've got lime, you've got whatever you want to make a mule. You don't have to use vodka, you don't have to use a Moscow Mule. You could do a mezcal mule with some smoky mezcal. You could do an Irish mule with some Irish whiskey. You could do, what else could you do? Now, see, if you make it with bourbon, we're going to go ahead and call that a Kentucky Mule. If you make it with tequila, it's called El Burro. Or you can add creme de cassis for a Trader Vic's El Diablo. You can use Jack Daniels or some other Tennessee whiskey for an Andrew Jackson. He's on the $20 bill. And if you make one with Scotch, it's called a Mamie Taylor, whoever that is. If you use rum, it's called a Shanghai Buck. I don't know why, but you know it's old because this is a buck. See, it's not a mule. You can mix cognac and bitters to make a French mule. We will come back to this one. You just wait. You can make one with aquavit and have an Oslo mule. I'm not even going to try a Norwegian accent. Shout out to our friends at the Norwegian American Chamber of Commerce and also our buddies at Hovding. Great aquavit. Check it out. You can even make one with absinthe and have a bohemian mule. Mama! Ooh! Or you could just use gin and make it a Ginger Rogers, darling. That's right. It's me, Ginger Rogers. Man, I really look like all this snow from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I'm going for it. Well, as you can see, darling, you can make any kind of mule you want. Any kind of mule will do. Just give it a tippity-two, 2 ounces of spirit to your mule of choice, okay? Oh man, this is bad. Well, now to make the Moscow Mule, I'm going to hand it off to the Fred Astaire, to my Ginger Rogers. It's Jeremy. Don't worry, he's not a spy. Come on, Jeremy, don't be shy, don't be shy.
What a performance for Al. Give it up for him. That is called theater magic, my friends. And now we're going to make some cocktail magic with some of my favorite ingredients. I'm going to use a copper mug to build this in. It's not really a mug, it's a shaking tin, but I froze my mugs over with dry ice for a dumb gimmick, and now well, here I am. So we've got the ginger syrup here. Gonna need some limes, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut some limes and put them in. So these are kind of small, so I'm thinking I might need 2 to get my 3/4 ounce. I'm just going to measure directly into my... No.
You need to look at that?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Does anybody else need to look at that?
This is the recipe. Boom.
Oh, so lime. To the tune of about 3/4 of an ounce. You can go a little more if you like a little more acidity. The ginger syrup to the tune of 1 ounce. And a healthy 2 ounces of vodka. From there, we can add some ice. And top with some soda water. and give that a little swirl. Garnish with a little lime wedge. And if you have our kits, then you definitely have some candied ginger. Yee. And cheers.
Boom. Looking sharp, man.
Ah, thank you.
Let's look at that recipe again, just for folks who it went by pretty quick. So we've got our 2 ounces of vodka, or whatever spirit you're using. There's 3/4 ounces of lime juice, and then if you don't have our ginger syrup, use 3 to 4, usually 4 ounces of ginger beer. And you can just put all of that together in a tin. This is one of those things we call a BIG, a big drink, because you can just build it right into the glass. You don't even have to think about it. So that was a true story about the Moscow Mule as far as I know. There is some debate about whether or not the owner of this establishment actually created that recipe. His lead bartender also claimed to have created it, so it wouldn't be the first time in the world that your boss took credit for your work, am I right? But nevertheless, the Cock and Bull British pub right here in Los Angeles in the year 1941 was where the Moscow Mule came into existence, by all accounts and purposes. I'm gonna make me a quick one. If you guys are making a double, make sure that you always double the ingredients, obviously. And the mule, man, I mean, there's so many different variations that you can do, as we saw. If you guys are trying something a little different at home, please definitely let us know. We want to know what kind of mule gets your goat or other 4-legged creature. All right. There is nothing like squeezing fresh limes. I hope you guys at home are enjoying that as much as I do. I think that it is an essential part of bartending to make yourself juice fresh citrus. Worth just saying that fresh citrus makes or breaks any of these cocktails that we've done so far. If you're using canned bottled juice, it's just not really the same thing. Lime juice is really super fickle. It starts going downhill pretty much immediately. After about the 10-hour mark, there's a pretty rapid decrease in the lime juice quality department. So when you put it together with other things like a ginger syrup or other acids like we do with our mule mix, that you can also get on our Square site, and of course alcohol helps to preserve it a little bit. You can freeze juice, but you know, that also only does so much. Go a little bit extra on the ginger juice here. Ginger syrup, excuse me. And yeah, the fresh juiced ginger really makes a huge difference for this mule. What do you think, friends? Are we enjoying the mule so far? Any feedback over there? Hello?
No.
Hello?
Oh yeah.
My Soviet
JMC
friend.
Strat says yes, my favorite.
Yes!
Brewed version would like to know why Moscow Mules are always served in copper mat.
Oh yes, so the copper mug story it was just part of the marketing gimmick. As I was mentioning at the top of the show, maybe you missed it. The guy who ran the Cock and Bull British pub, his girlfriend had a copper company that her family owned, and her name was Ozeline Schmidt, of all things. Ozeline. So I don't know where they were from, but they had a copper mine, and they had a lot of these copper mugs. So it was really a marriage of 3 people who had excess stock of things that they didn't know what to do with. So there was vodka, there was ginger beer, and there were these copper mugs. And so it was strictly an LA marketing gimmick that brought the Moscow Mule into the world, and this is why you enjoy it in a copper mug for no other reason than that. That's pretty much it. This is a copper shaker, but I'm gonna enjoy a little sip of the mule out of this copper shaker. Oh yeah. Very nice, tart, sweet, totally balanced. The brightness, the fizziness. I mean, it's a great drink. No matter what you put in this, it's just perfect.
Kyle Real says this mule is awesome. Better than ordered at a bar.
I mean, this is what you pay for, man. He's got the kit. I know, because I dropped it off to him today. You gotta get behind the kit. We were having some technical difficulties a couple weeks ago, and we were in danger of having some more technical difficulties just before we started. So we're a little bit shook here in the Mule Show, but I think we've got our bearings about us now. This is usually the segment of the show where I tell another long-winded story. So if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to go into a long-winded story about our next drink while we wait to prepare it.
Good recommendations on good ginger beer to use.
Oh yeah.
Bundaberg's my favorite.
Bundaberg is great. Bundaberg from Australia.
Fever Tree is another great ginger
Fever
beer.
Tree is also really, really good. There was one that I almost choked to death on in a park in New York City once. I forget what it was called. But it had like a little drawing of ginger on it. Fever Tree, I think, is my favorite, but it is really, really spicy. So you want to go a little bit lighter on the ginger beer in the cocktail if you're using Fever Tree, or anything that has like just aggressive amounts of ginger bite.
Stephanie says she's using Fentimans, and Fentimans is a pretty good choice too.
Fentimans is great. Fentimans is a great company that uses all cane sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup.
No HFCS.
No HFCS.
Nobody wants that.
We're gonna get back to high fructose corn syrup in just a couple of minutes. True story. The mule. The crickets. Joe's playing a song. We're hanging out in the Spirit Guides Lounge, having a mule of a time. There really are so many variations of this drink. It's not even funny. And like as you saw earlier, all the different variations that you can do. As we've been saying, very, very basic ingredients making these really, really great drinks. And over the years, people have just said, well, what if we swapped this for that? And then they call it a totally new thing. And that was fun.
Kyle Real, Britt is asking, or stating, holy shit, these are so good, followed by a question. Can we buy these kits for like a small gathering for pre-partying? We got the kit, but we want to make more because we're casual booze whores.
I'm so glad you asked that, casual booze whore. Well, in addition to doing this experience right here, our live stream and our kit sales every Thursday, we have started doing something else, and I just had a maiden voyage of this last night, is we do hosted Zoom parties for you, your friends. We can kind of do this type of a thing, but an intimate setting where I run the Zoom feed, or you run the Zoom feed, and we just invite your friends and family to come and make drinks with us, or just hang out. It's like virtual bar hang, and we had a really great time last night. I'm doing another one on Saturday for another dear old friend who I haven't seen in quite some time. So very, very excited about that. If you would like to get something like that going on, send us a message. You can DM us. I cannot.
Don't ever say it.
It just sounds like a sexual act. On Instagram, or you can send us an email, info@spiritguidescocktails.com, spiritguidescocktails@gmail, whatever. And we've got a whole list of different classes we can do. You can mix and match. It's super fun. So in addition to that, we also do have on our website, our Square site, a lot of different products. If you want to basically have cocktail mixers without the booze, you provide the booze for yourselves. Most of them are 750s, which is this size bottle, and some of the more exceptional things are in smaller 250 bottles. But each of them makes about 10 to 13 cocktail servings, depending, and they're all under 30 bucks. So definitely go check that out on our Square site. We'll have that info up again at the end of the show, so you can check that out. Check it out. Well, the 1940s were a very interesting time, and I'm going to introduce you to two characters who you're going to want to know for the next story. The first character is a guy by the name of Joe Scialom. Look at him. Doesn't he look beautiful? Now, Joe Scialom, in the year 1942, was working in a place called the Shepherd's Bar in Cairo, Egypt. He was an Egyptian Jew from Italian descent, and he was the man at the Long Bar, which is the main bar, at the Shepherd's Hotel. The Shepherd's Hotel was very important during World War II. It was actually where British soldiers and British the higher up guys. I'm blanking. Officers. The British officers would spend a lot of time doing R&R, rehabilitating at the Shepherd's Hotel in Cairo in the North African campaign of World War II. So the other character that you need to know is a Nazi by the name of Erwin Rommel, and I believe we have a picture of some Nazis up here. There it is. Yeah, there they are in all their glory, just eyeing around, doing Nazi type things. At least I think those are Nazis. I pulled this from a secondary site, but I believe the guy in the front is Erwin Rommel, who was Hitler's general in the North African campaign, and he was famously quoted as saying before a very important battle that he was going to make a reservation at the penthouse suite of the Shepherd's Hotel. That's how confident he was that they were going to plow through, get to Cairo, which was the British stronghold, and drive the British army out. Now, this didn't happen, and one of the reasons that it may not have happened is that a lot of these British officers were hanging out with Joe at his bar, the Shepherd's Hotel, and they were getting really hungover because they were drinking really bad booze. Now, there is a difference between good booze and bad booze. If the booze is better, you're going to have less likely that you're going to have a hangover. Now, Joe Scialom was not just a bartender, he was a trained chemist. And so he knew the difference between good booze and bad booze. The man also spoke 8 languages and would one day go on to run a Hilton hotel bar empire, putting together bar programs in every single one of the Hilton hotels around the world during the 1950s and 1960s. So he knew the difference, and he was putting together whatever he could scrape together to make a hangover cure for these officers who were wrecked the next day and just needed something good. And what he came up with was a cocktail that he named the Suffering Bastard. Let's take a look. Now, the Suffering Bastard, or the Suffering Bar Steward, as he would sometimes call it for the faint of ear, this is, as you can see, basically a mule variation. This is also a very popular drink in the tropical drinks world, probably because of the fantastic story. But basically, we've got a French mule and a Ginger Rogers coming together half and half. Now, in the cocktail world, we call that a split base. So usually the cocktails we've been doing, we say pour 2 ounces of this spirit. Now, in this case, you're going to do 1 ounce of one spirit and 1 ounce of the other spirit. So that's called splitting the base. Now, this creates like very new, interesting flavors. You're not decreasing the ABV at all of the cocktail, but you're having something new and exciting. If we can go back to the recipe one more time, another thing to note is they did not have a lot of fresh limes there in wartime Egypt, we must say. They were using something called Rose's Lime Cordial, which I told you all to get on the ingredients. Now, Rose's Lime Cordial, which was also called a sweetened lime cordial, or a sweetened lime juice, it's a combination of lime juice and sugar. So it's sort of like a sugary syrup, like a simple syrup, but instead of water, you're using lime juice. I went over this on the first week, I think, so you guys may remember we were talking about cordials. So Rose's lime cordial, or West India sweetened lime juice, was a very, very popular ingredient during that time. And during that time, it actually tasted pretty darn good because they were using fresh cane sugar and not high fructose corn syrup, which is, of course, what they are using now. It's made in Mexico by a giant company, and they use high fructose corn syrup. So, sorry to say that you're going to drink some high fructose corn syrup unless
You bought the kit.
you bought the Spirit Guides kit.
Quick question from Stephanie. If we don't have cognac, what does we do?
What does we do without cognac? Well, you could substitute a whiskey for cognac, or you could just do double gin and see how that goes. The cognac, it adds a nice kind of malty flavor. So if you have anything that's barrel aged, that's got a little bit of darkness to it, you know, some rum might work. Rum would probably work. A decent like aged rum.
But that's kind of the fun in cocktailing and making cocktails is you try things that suck
Absolutely.
sometimes, and sometimes they're even
You gotta
better,
experiment.
even better.
And when you're getting behind the mule, as we've already shown, it doesn't matter. You could do this with 2 ounces of absinthe and still be fine.
Shit, I want one of those.
You might not be standing, but you'll be fine after a couple of days. So the lime cordial is something that we are very, very excited about. We make our own lime cordial, and if you got the kit, you got some of this stuff. This is very, very special ecto cooler looking stuff made from fresh squeezed lime. We rest it overnight with lime zest, so it's got a lot of those good lime oils. Ah, yes, that's the stuff. So we're gonna do this in this cocktail instead of lime juice. And we are ready, I think, to make a suffering bastard. If you guys are ready, let's look at the recipe one more time just to make sure we've got all of our stuff. So we're gonna need some gin, some cognac, or again, 2 ounces of whatever you got. It's probably fine. Your ginger syrup is just if you have the kit, goes with the soda water or else ginger beer. You've got the lime cordial, and then 2 dashes of bitters. The bitters help to settle your stomach when you're hungover. Now, if you bought the kit, we have already gone ahead and put the bitters into the cognac, so you don't need to worry about adding extra bitters. Capiche, paisano? I will make 2 versions, one with the bitters. Oh, no, I won't. I don't have 2 tins. I'm going to make 1 version. I'm going to make the version that we all know and love. So, key thing of this is we are going to shake this drink. Now, shaking carbonated beverages is not a smart thing to do. I know from experience. You can kind of stir it to incorporate it after we do the shake, okay? So don't put any carbonated ingredients in. We're going to build the cocktail from the bottom up using our cheapest ingredients, which happen to be our syrups in this case, first. So we got 1 ounce of ginger syrup, if you're doing the kit, per drink. Of course, double it up. We've got our lime cordial, a 1/2 ounce of this stuff.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Doma Caden would like to know, can you make ginger syrup at home with powdered ginger?
Oh my God, I mean, I have no idea.
My instinct says no. So there's something about the freshness of fresh ginger juice that has a bite that ginger powder doesn't quite have the same. However, there's only one way to find out, and that's to try it. And let us know next week.
Yeah,
how your
we're
homemade powdered ginger syrup turned out. Stephanie's like, no, don't.
It sounds like it probably is bad. It just sounds like that. Oh, that smells pretty dang good. This is a lot of syrup, which is probably again part of what was helping the boys there. The boys out. Oh, you know what? I actually do need to add bitters to ours because I'm not using the kit. So ignore this part with the bitters. 2 goodly dashes. Ignore this if you have the kit because that's already in the cognac. Oh yeah, that's the bastard I know and love. Another quote from my girlfriend. And then 1 ounce of cognac per cocktail. Cognac is just a fancy word for brandy.
From Cognac, France.
From Cognac, France. The French love to distinguish, you know.
That's
We're
how
going to
they
see
add
a lot
value.
more of the French distinguishing themselves in the liquor market next week. I can't wait to show you guys next week's show tonight.
That actually makes sense. Just like the Moscow Mule is a branding, and made
Mhm.
super popular. Again, you brand yourself.
Brandy is such a great ingredient that I must admit I do not play around with as much as I should. So we're gonna try to bring more brandy action in here in the future. But yeah, again, like brandy plus bitters, cognac plus bitters, just with ginger beer and lime juice, that makes a French mule. So this is essentially just a French mule because it has the brandy, it has the bitters, and it's a split base with gin. So somewhere between brandy and gin, brandy and ginger. There came a suffering bastard. I have used this as a hangover cure before, and I stand by it. Joe Scialom is an amazing phenom of a cocktail person. R.I.P. I assume. I mean, good lord. But his story is another one of these fabulous stories that we all owe a debt of gratitude to Jeff Berry, my favorite book, Potions of the Caribbean. I'm telling you, you guys should read this book. If you're at all interested in cocktails and cocktail history, Joe Scialom has an entire chapter in this book, and it is exceptionally interesting. The stuff that he decided to put together, it's still next level. You don't really see it in a lot of spots. Do we have another cup for you, my man? We've got 1 cup, 2 cup, 3 cup. There it is. Social distance. We're still practicing social distance. We've had our masks on the whole time and our gloves when we were assembling these kits, and we sterilize everything, so don't fret. We're doing the best that we can to keep you guys nice and happy in your homes. These are good quality drinks. I'm concerned, I guess a little bit, oh geez.
You can have that one.
Well, we need to make room for the soda water.
Oh yeah.
I'm concerned slightly that it might be terribly sweet. I really don't know. These rocks glasses are a little bit shy. You might want to use something bigger. However, it's just a shake and pour. Shake and dump, we call that. So use a little bit more, use a little bit bigger glass than I did. Probably be a good idea. And then we're going to top with the club soda. What I was trying to say is that I'm slightly concerned this might be a little bit sweet. A little bit on the sweeter side of things. But you know, give us your feedback. Let us know what you think. Got your bar spoon or even a knife, whatever. You're just going to want to stir that together. Get it nice and incorporated. Oh yeah, let it spill out a little bit. One for my dead homies.
Just 1 drop though. That's all they get.
Boom! So the garnish for this, as Joe prescribed, and you can actually see it if we go back to the picture. This is no lie. He's mixing these cocktails together. You can see it in the picture. He's got the mint, and he's got his spoon. It almost looks like there's some copper down there, doesn't it? And obviously he's in Egypt because there's a dude with a fez behind him. So when you do the mint garnish, you know, we've been going mint crazy the last few weeks. I'm sure you guys already know this, but give it a spank, slap be do, couple sprigs, very nice. And again, this is just for the aromatics, and obviously everything just looks tropical and wonderful when you use fresh mint. Try to compost if you can. And Joe recommended an orange slice for each of these cocktails too. We've got some nice, fresh, garden-grown tangerines here. Or I think they're tangerines, clementines or something. But anyway, nice little tangerine wheel. Or an orange wheel.
That
And
looks like
there
a
you
cure to
go,
me.
man. There is our hangover cure. We owe a
do you want
debt.
to cheers? Just clink them together.
All right, we're gonna clink them together. We gotta hope each of our arms.
No. I'm just saying you clink.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna clink it together for us.
Yes.
Cheers, man. Clink. Well, this looks absolutely fabulous. Let's have a taste.
I mean, it smells amazing. I mean, like the cognac.
Oh yeah.
Like a touch of that.
Yeah.
That oak.
Sorry, Stephanie. The cognac is really making this. Hate to break it to you. It is a little bit on the sweet side. This may be a case where I would say the ginger beer, like Fentimans or Fever Tree, Bundaberg, might actually win the day on this cocktail. However, we didn't give a full 4-ounce pour of our soda water because my glasses were a little bit small. So that may not be the case. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong, despite what people have told me. So anyway, in thrilling conclusion of the story, the Suffering Bastard was actually requested by the British officers before a big battle, the Battle of El Alamein, which was a stalemate battle that actually changed the entire course of the North African World War II in favor of the Allies. Perhaps because they had gallons and gallons of this mix being shipped to the front lines. Joe actually literally got a telegram saying, ship as much of this stuff as you can to the front lines. Our boys need it. And so he did, combining all of these ingredients, putting them in whatever bottle he could, and sending it up to the front. And it may be said that this cocktail saved the world from Hitler. And you heard it here on Spirit Guide's Thirsty Thursdays. Oh, that is a tasty drink. I'm going back for a little bit more.
Seems like the peoples agree with you. So good. Oh, this is good. Slap the mint. Aw, yeah.
Sometimes what is great to do is, I know we kind of breeze through these things in a very short period of time, but if you save a little bit of the first one, you can do a side-by-side taste test and taste the regular mule that you made with the Suffering Bastard. It's a little watered down now, which makes sense. But I definitely taste, the fresh lime brings a lot more brightness to this. Perhaps with the Rose's Lime Cordial, that brightness has remained, and ours is a little bit muted. I don't know. What I would say is that if you're tasting that Suffering Bastard and it's not really punching you like you want it to, just add a little more spritz of some fresh lime. I'm sure you got a little bit of limes left over if you bought the kits. We packed them full of fresh juice. And I'm glad that we made y'all juice those citruses today. It's I hope it's been a satisfying experience. Oh yeah.
Just thinking about the time that we juiced
There we go.
30 liters of lime.
Yeah, we've done our fair share of crazy amounts of citrus.
Remember the time you burned your hand juicing lime?
This is true. Folks, we don't just have these gloves lying around just for coronavirus. I mean, come on. No, these gloves do more than protect you from COVID-19. These gloves will protect your hand from a real condition called margarita burn, which is where the skin on your hand starts having a reaction to the incredible amount of citric and malic acids that are eating its way through your skin cells when you juice way too many limes for fresh margaritas. This is a real problem that bartenders do face. So we again hope that this show provides a little bit of bartender appreciation every week. So you can see that the pithy amount of juice that you get from one of these little suckers is it takes a good deal of effort. It takes a good deal of effort.
Yeah. And then Schmiden's like, link us to a solid juicer. My hand needs the help. Like, I'm tired of doing this hand juicing.
Oh, is
it's
he? Are you
difficult.
using your hand? Like just your hand?
Yeah.
Well, this I got just this small one, Hecho in Mexico. I got this down at the wholesale market in downtown LA. There's a lot of great shops you can visit down there just for a quick hand juicer like this. This one is a nice metal finish that I dig. However, if you just go to like a Ralph's, most grocery stores have other hand juicers. If you're really, really serious and you're really in the market for something amazing, we recommend Rachand. Rachand gets paid. He's actually on payroll here at Spirit Guides. But this is a lovely 3-part juicer. I think we've demoed this before. But this has a nice like spring back action that's really great. So part of what
this is a good point. Martin or Rude version says Martin Kate says that you should be careful not to over squeeze limes because you get bitter notes in your juices. Thoughts on that? And that's
true.
That is true.
I would say definitely fair enough. I think that it is a matter of what drink you're making and what kind of flavor profile you're going for. If you are doing hand squeezing, like right into the glass or into the mixing tin, you're probably going to get a lot more of the lime peel oil in there, which, you know, it may be a good thing, it may be a bad thing. If you want a little bit more of that action going on, it depends. I think for like a daiquiri, that's no problem really, you know. But if you're doing something that you're putting a lot of extra bitters in, you might start to run into some issues with that. But yeah, again, you know, as I said, we read that, you know, you can't really call it a mule unless you're making it with ginger beer. And I say to that, like, fair enough, because you don't want to just make a simple syrup, add ginger to it, and pretend like it's a mule. But I think that there is exceptions to every rule, and it's about what you like and what you want to drink. So we're here to kind of show you the basics, how it's done, and put our own little spin on it too where we can. But obviously, you know, the fun of mixology is doing it yourself and figuring out what your palate is and what you really like. You guys are great. I'm so glad we got together.
It's lovely seeing you all here tonight.
It's been wonderful. Well, that's about our show for today, I think. Are there any more burning questions out there about the mule variations?
Let's see.
That is good.
Did I miss any questions? No, I think we've got the questions answered.
I will quickly do a small. I'm gonna do a small riff because I know some of you actually have these in your cocktail kits. I'm pretty sure these are tangerines or like clementine oranges. But anyway, you can, if you have some of this juice left over, some of this orange left over, you can juice this, add some orange liqueur if you have it, some Cointreau, and some scotch and some bitters, and that makes another fantastic Joe Scialom cocktail called an M1. The recipe called for tangerine juice. I'm not sure if these are exactly tangerines, but scotch and tangerine juice and bitters and Cointreau, like that is, and that was like in the 50s. I mean, this guy was on a whole nother mixology level. So very glad that we got to give props. What I find so interesting about the show that we did tonight is that here are two cocktails that are basically the same exact thing being created on opposite sides of the world in the same 2-year span. So I don't know if it was something about just ginger beer at the time, like everybody was on a ginger beer kick. But it's very, very interesting to see that there's similarities going on in the mixology world. It was like it was in the morphogenic field. All right, well, if there's no more questions, I guess we'll sign off for this week's Thirsty Thursdays. We want to thank you for joining us, and we are very, very excited for next week's show. Oh, my tie. Mania! It's gonna be Mai Tai. It's gonna be Mai Tai Mania. Mai Tai Mania. We are going to do a Mai Tai, a traditional Mai Tai from Trader Vic's. Go back to it real fast, just in case people want to get the ingredients in advance. We're going to do Trader Vic's Mai Tai, and we are going to do a local spin-off of Trader Vic's Mai Tai from Tiki Tea, which is a great tiki bar on Sunset Boulevard. If you guys haven't been, as soon as this quarantine lifts, I'll meet you there. We've got some great stuff coming next week. This is a little bit complicated, so we hope that you can find this stuff easily. If you have any questions about where to find it, we understand if you don't want to buy the kits, it's totally cool. We can point you in the right direction for where to get some of this stuff. But we are going to be doing some exceptionally good rums. We've got a dark Jamaican rum you're going to need. You're going to need some tequila. Cazadores Reposado is recommended. You're going to need an orange liqueur. We use a dry curacao, but Cointreau also works. Triple sec in a pinch. You're going to need to make simple syrup, which we have a video about that online, which we'll post again, so you can go to it. And then you're going to need orgeat syrup, which is an almond syrup. Or I think that we're going to be able to make it work if you just have some almond extract. So I know that you'll be able to get that from a Ralph's or a Vaughn's, something like that. Obviously lots of limes, and if you want to make the second cocktail, you're going to need passion fruit, either syrup or puree. If you want to make your own passion fruit syrup from fresh passion fruits, give me a call, because we should hang out. That's the way to do it. That's the way we'll be doing it and putting it in the cocktail kits. So we've got some great stuff coming up. Oh, and the last thing is a gold rum. Rum agricole is really what is recommended, but both those are optional. The rum agricole is a Martinique thing. It's a French thing. I told you the French were going to get real special treatment for several weeks here. So that's our show for next week.
I want to do one quick question because I think this is very relevant.
Oh, sure.
From Doma Kadin. Any recommendations on orgeat replacement for someone with tree nut allergies?
Let's see. Well, you can make...
What about cinnamon syrup?
You could probably do cinnamon syrup. I think, let's see, what are some other tree nuts? There is a process. It's a little bit difficult, so I don't think we should probably get into it, but of making your own nut syrup with any nut milk that you actually have. You know, if you can do like oat milk or something like that, what you might want to consider is just getting a thing of oat milk, or even if you want to do this yourself, get a thing of almond milk, because orgeat.
Nut. The problem is the nut.
No, I mean yeah, but for the other people, not for anyone with a nut allergy, but whatever kind of off dairy milk you can get, and then do a simple syrup combination, basically, where you're doing like a cup of the milk to a cup of sugar and blend it together that way, just over some low heat. Stir it until the sugar dissolves. All that orgeat syrup is, folks, is almond syrup, and they milk the almonds and then they add the almond milk into sugar. That's basically it. There are some exceptional products on the market. We may use one of those exceptional products for next week ourselves. We may get bold and make our own almond orgeat syrup. I don't know. I'm pretty tired, but we've been racking ourselves putting together this great show for tonight. So once I get some rest, maybe we'll be feeling juiced enough to do our own nut milk syrup. But what's a non-tree nut? Are cashews?
I saw a good option is to find a imitation almond extract.
Oh, there you go.
And then you can do that with simple syrup, and that will give you a tree nut.
Yeah.
Orgeat.
Yeah, that would probably do it.
So let the scientists and their chemicals substitute your nuts.
Sub your nuts. Sub those nuts.
So,
Well, that's pretty much our show for today. It's getting near 9 o'clock. We hope you're feeling a little bit tipsy. We hope you're in the mood for romance. And we hope you're in the mood to check us out next week at twitch.tv /Spirit Guides. There's that link again for our Square site. We're going to update it, I swear. And please follow us on Instagram, guys. Thanks for joining us. Another fun show. We love you. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you next week.